Well, let's check out 10 places where you can invest your money 2025, and they are regarded as safest places where you can put your money. All right, let's get to the business. The place number one where you can actually invest your money in safe and secured is something called the Treasury Bills. Treasury Bills are usually called short-term way of lending government your cash. You only need to have yourself 50K and above. 50,000, that's like 5,000 or less than 5,000 actually. No, not 5,000. That's like $500 or something of sort. Now, the Treasury Bills here is actually available each and every week. You can actually grab yourself a Treasury bill each and every week and you can get started from there. So it's a short-term way of lending government your cash, and it's way stable, way safer compared to other form of investment. So that is why I just put it on point number one. Okay, I'm not putting this in sort of like, you know, number one, number two in terms of the risk. No. Everything I'm gonna share here are stable, they are safe, where you can actually put your money, just in case you're confused, you don't know where to put your money. And by the way, don't forget to hit that like button. This is Good Joseph, and I talk about investment, anything related to exactly that in this particular year of 2025. All right, now another thing or another area where you can actually invest is something called the Treasury Bonds. This is like a sister to the Treasury Bill. And what exactly is this? Treasury Bills or other Treasury Bond, it's the same as Treasury Bill, but the difference here is that this one is actually a long-term way of investing with the government. Of course, you need to have yourself not less than 50,000, 50K and above. That's like $500 or even less than $500 actually. You can actually invest. Treasury bonds are usually available each and every month, so you can grab any, and they're actually divided into two. We usually have a treasury bond that we call them the IFB, that is infrastructure bond. It's tax free. And we usually have another one called the FXD, that is actually taxable between 10 to 15% on the interest that you earn out there. So that is Treasury Bills and the Treasury Bonds. Generally, the two of them are called the government securities, and you can grab them. Anyway, if you need to know how to invest on these things, if you need like a sort of what we call a personal take through how you can get started, you can actually grab that number of mine from the description of this particular video. Shoot me a call, let's talk business. I can be able to take you through step by step on how to open the account. Even if you're outside the country, all right, you can be able to go ahead and be able to invest. Now, we go to the other point where you can actually invest. There's something called the balance fund. Okay, the balance fund. The balance fund, this is another fund, or this is another form of an investment whereby, you see the term balance, there's something balancing here. You're investing in two things at the same time. You're having two things on board. For example, you're having a certain percentage of your cash is actually invested in equities or shares, and some of other money is invested in other stable areas like the bills, like the bonds, and what have you. So you're having, like, say you throw like 100K into that particular investment called balance fund, you can actually go ahead and have like 60,000, maybe that's put into equities, and the 40,000 into stable areas. So some fraction of your cash is actually under a little bit of high risk, and other one is actually at a moderate. And of course, we know that anything that has high risk, of course, it has a what? A low as a high risk actually has high returns, and the low risk usually comes with low returns. So balance fund is an amazing area to invest, especially where you don't want to have like a lot of investments here and there. You just want to have like a one package that gives you variety of things. You can be able to get into that. It's called the balance fund, and you can start with as low as 5K. You're good to go. So yeah, absolutely. Now, the other one that, of course, you guys have heard of me talking like a million times is like the MMF. By the way, I tell people, if you don't have an emergency fund, you don't have a sinking fund, you don't have an investment, you're barely starting, you're a beginner, you can start here. You can start here. You can start on MMF, okay? By the way, MMF, the Treasury Bills and Treasury Bonds, they are all regarded as a what? A low risk. They're regarded as a low risk investments. Okay, so you can actually get yourself into those three things, and they can actually do you something great as far as the investments are concerned. Are we moving together? So that is point number 4. I've talked about the Treasury Bills, the Treasury Bonds, the balance fund, and I've explained the balance fund is something that is giving you two things at the same time. And MMF, that one I'm not going to discuss anything because I've been talking about it like each and every time. Anyway, I got myself here a phone, and I've actually listed all these investment. And another area where you can actually invest that is regarded as safe is something called FIF. What is it? This is fixed investment fund. That is fixed investment fund you can be able to get started with. Okay, so the fixed investment fund, this is bears, or this, they are kind of similar with a money market fund, but now the difference here, remember one thing, if you've been with me for quite a long time, I said any money that is invested in a money market fund, that money, where that money is invested, because of course it is invested, that's why you're getting the interest, they are not supposed to invest in something that exceeds 18 months. Am I even making sense? So when you take your money, you invest in a money market fund. Your fund manager, of course, they take that money, then invest it. Where they invest that money, by law in a money market fund, they're not supposed to invest in something that exceeds 18 months. Are we together? So therefore, there's some sort of a limitation when it comes to how much you can make with the money market funds. So I think that is one of the shortcomings when it comes to a money market fund, because you can't take the money for the money market fund and invest in treasury bonds. Are we together? And let's say the treasury bonds have good return, so you can't really invest there. Okay, but when it comes to FIF, the fixed investment fund, that boundary is actually gotten off. That means the money that you invest with the FIF, you're giving your fund manager or you're giving your company, sort of an open way, like they can take that money and invest in something that exceeds 18 months. And therefore, it means that you're actually letting your money to spread its tentacles and you can be able to earn more. So FIF, they are actually more or less similar with a money market fund. It's only that the nature of investment and of course the risk involved are slightly different. Okay, but they are very stable, very safe, where you can actually put your money. And I think this is an area that I will kind of stress much about it, the fixed investment fund, whereby you can be able to get started and give you some of the companies that can actually give you this particular fund out there. That's why I tell you, always make sure that you hit that subscription button, make sure that you turn that notification bell on so that you'll be notified whenever I upload a new good video. All right, so let's get to the next point, or the next thing that you can be able to invest on. There are something called the equity fund. Okay, equity fund. There's something called the equity fund. Equity fund, that is our investment number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That is an investment number 6. The equity fund, now this is kind of different. Let's say, for example, you really love to invest in what we call the stocks. Okay, you would love to invest on stocks. Here on equity funds. Are we together? Now, equity funds, let's say you would like to invest on stocks, but the issue here is that you really don't know how to go about it. You don't know how to analyze the companies to buy the shares from. You don't know what someone's supposed to consider when investing in shares. You are a beginner, you know nothing. You can actually buy stocks behind the doors, if I may use that term only to explain my point. Meaning you can actually invest on equity funds. This is whereby you approach a regulated company, a registered company, bears all the regulation that are supposed to be there, and then you can actually invest on the equity fund. In short, you're taking your money, you're giving out to that company, and you're telling them, you guys, you are experts, you're professionals, go invest that money in equity. So they usually go around and check out the stable companies whereby they can invest that cash and be able to get good returns, and of course that returns will be shared with you. Okay, so equity funds, it's an area whereby I would say if you're a newbie, you do not know much, or maybe let's say you're even an expert, but you see, you don't want to have that time to analyze and everything and what have you. Maybe you don't want to go the whole process of opening the CDS account and what have you. So you can simply switch to what we call the equity funds. And by the way, if you ask me, I don't see any problem you investing in equity funds and still investing on stocks. So I find it a way of, hey, guess what? There is what you invest through your own analysis, and there is what you've invested through people's analysis and such kind of a thing. So it's another area that I would highly recommend when it comes to this year 2025. And by the way, for your information, it does not require like a huge chunk of cash for you to get started, and you can be able to earn something, and you can be able to as well say, hey, you know what? I've actually got myself into the investments. Okay. Now, another area to invest, it's called the special funds. There are areas of investments, we call them the special funds. Special funds, these are not money market funds, they are not bills, they are not bonds. They're just a fund that a certain company has come up with. And of course, they make sure that all these funds are regulated, and they usually collect the money. I'm avoiding to mention them because I'm not here to advertise any company. So I'm not going to mention any any special fund, but I know them, okay? And some of those special funds, you guys have been asking me to talk about them, so I'm not gonna mention them here. But the point is, if you'd like to get them, you can always contact me. Then I can tell you what are these special funds that you can get yourself into, and they're offered by investment banks. Okay. Now the point, by the way, I don't know whether you know this. You know there are two types of banks. Yeah, we have the investment banks and we have the commercial banks. That bank that you're used to is called the commercial bank. Because see, commercial bank. Commercial bank means they are there to make money. The investment banks are there to help you make money as they make money. And by the way, if there's something that I pray in this country of ours called Kenya, it's a situation whereby I think in Kenya we have like, I mean, few investment banks. I wish one day can come to a point whereby we have, it's like sort of an equal number or even more investment banks than the commercial banks. That is when now the commercial bank will actually, learn to sort of give friendly rates. And for example, here in Kenya, the Central Bank of Kenya has actually lowered the interest rate. When they say they lower the interest rate, it means that the rate at which the commercial banks are borrowing from the Central Bank of Kenya has been lowered, but they have not lowered their own interest when they are lending it to the public. I mean, for me, I find it rogue, by the way. Actually, I was reading some article like literally a day ago. I'm making this video at around 4th of January. And I was reading an article, and of course, although it's a January at night, yeah. So I was like, reading an article, and they were telling me, or they were saying like, actually the commercial banks have actually increased their rates. You wonder, I mean, really, what's going on? So anyway, these special funds are actually given by investment banks. And if you can work with the investment banks, you can actually go ahead and earn something out of your money. And that is an amazing way to actually go by as far as this year. Although this one may come with a little bit of disadvantage because they usually tend to have a minimum of quite of a huge amount of money, like hundreds of thousands. So, but if you can manage to raise that amount of money, then it's an area that I would highly recommend that you get started with because of its nature and of course the expertise that have been involved there and areas where they invest, bearing in mind that they actually bring together variety of areas where you can actually invest and do something about it. Another investment that actually I'm going to talk about, the last three, these are quite different. It's not the investment that you may expect. And that is number one is the skills. If there is an investment that you can actually pick and it's safe in this 2025 is a skill. Learning yourself a skill, equipping yourself with an understanding of something that you can actually become an expert and you can make money out of that particular skill. So learning skills out of this particular year, you can actually get yourself at the right side. Why? Learning a skill will actually help you. For example, you can decide, okay? And when you say a skill, doesn't have to be a complicated one. You can learn video editing. You can learn podcast. I mean, you can, what do we call it? The what do you call Photoshop or something of sort. You can learn web designing, web hosting, whatever, all those kind of things. Okay, I don't think web hosting is a skill that you can learn anyway. But the point is, you get what I'm saying. Just get yourself a skill in this particular year, and that will actually help you a lot. And even if you're going to learn the skill of investing, it's still a skill anyway, because if you learn the skill of investing, you're going to invest. And that means that you're going to reap out of whatever you had learned. So it is an amazing way to actually invest. That is what we call learning a skill. Another area that I've said I'm going to share with you, and it's quite important, learn to invest on your health. By the way, we talk much about investing, hey, making money, becoming this, but we rarely talk about this. And this health can actually gobble down all what all what you have if you've not invested. I mean, what am I saying? And God forbid, like health is a very important, but then health is wealth. You see, it is good to make sure that you invest on eating properly, make sure that you're exercising, even if not regularly, but at least you're exercising. You're not just staying like that. Sometimes give yourself intermittent fasting. I mean, there are a whole of channels that have dedicated their information all about health. I'm not here to talk about health. I'm here to talk about finances. But where my finances are touched by health, of course, I have to talk something about it. But to make sure that at least in 2025, if you have excess weight, work on towards cutting your weight. Make sure that maybe you have some issues that you can regulate out there. Just do something. All right. And the last thing that you can actually do, of course, this for the people who don't have these things to do with investments and whatever, you can get yourself into the business. It's an area whereby I would highly recommend. Well, is it safe? Of course, yeah, it's safe, and at the same time, it's not. Why? It depends on where or what business you're actually starting, and that way you can be able to do something. Start yourself a business. It does not harm. No matter how much money you have, you can be able to start somewhere, then grow yourself that way. And that's my 10 safest businesses that you can actually invest and do something about it, and you can be able to earn something in this particular year of 2025. And that is it. That's the end of my video. I've tried the best that I can to make sure that I don't use a lot of filler materials and go straight forward to the point. This is Good Joseph. As always, make sure that you hit that subscription button, like my video, and see you in the next one.